making this decision. And so you if your business is also dollarized in the way that this company was, you should also pay attention and see if you could strategize before you get to that point where you have to pull back as they have. I do not personally, I am rooting for businesses in Nigeria, both indigenous and non-indigenous, to be able to, get through the storm of now, really. So yeah, that's actually, I like to see the positive of it. So if you're in a importation business, see how you can realign and see what this means for you in coming days, because it's actually a fresh decision. All right, now a final story on Market Watch for today looks at the agricultural sector. The growth in the agricultural sector has hit the brakes. Yes, they've slowed down to 1.3% in the third quarter. That figure is from the National Bureau of Statistics, and they're saying we are not farming, no. So all that our English of non-oil sector, diversifying economy, we're still not putting our hands and our energy where our mouth is. So that means farmers are still producing less than we need for the market. So businesses in the agriculture game is like a red flag for you. Yes, it's like a red flag. It's time to dig into the soil of your operations. It's time for you to see where the productivity seeds need a boost. Because if it's 1.3% slow, that's not good for that business. Even though agriculture is supposed to be a big deal, it's the new new gold and all of that, our figures are showing the opposite, and that's not good for you if you're in that sector. Okay, that's it today on Market Watch. I cannot wait to delve deep into COP28 and what it means for businesses and how you can align, realign, and make adjustments that will protect you for what's coming after the COP28. We're talking about that. I'm going to introduce my guests really shortly now. And I like that he made time for this conversation. I know how busy he can be, but he's made time for us. I'm excited to have him join us today. I'm talking the president of River State Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, Mr. Ibifiri Bob Manuel. He joins me on telephone. Yes. Hello, good afternoon, Mr. Ibifiri Bob Manuel. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I think it's safe to say Happy New Month. This is the first show of the month, so Happy New Month.
Yeah, Happy New Month.
Okay, now.
Wishing you the best of the year.
Of course, yeah, the best of the seasons is what I wish every business owner and you as well. Now, COP28 started this week, November 30th to be precise, and is ending next week, December 12th precisely. What should we look forward to when it comes to businesses and the decisions that will come out from this 28th conference of the parties to the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which we call COP28?
Yeah, the outcome remains the same. They call for migration, the energy migration, global energy migration is the focus. And that's the push, that's the push. Basically, businesses must have to start doing things differently. You talked about going green. Going green is the new word for every business, and if your business wants to remain relevant, then the business needs to find a way to go green. And for us in Africa, I think we're the front line. We're the front line of the impact, because most of our African countries and businesses are fashioned, around the fossil fuel kind of transactions. We're fashioned to promote the fossil fuel businesses that are aligned with the fossil fuel. And when I talk about the fossil fuel, we're talking about the kind of production Nigeria generates about 90% of the revenue from, which is crude oil and all of that. So what the COP is all about is, look, crude oil is not good source of revenue. Crude oil hurts the globe, and we must stop the crude oil exploration, and we must begin to think about green energy, energy that would enhance livelihood and mankind. Because from all of the studies that have been carried out, fossil fuel hampers the well-being of the earth. And for us to remain in existence and remain relevant on this planet, then we must begin to think about the planet in a more sustainable way. And if we must have to think about it sustainably, then we need to change the way we do things. So for me, I think it has always been a wake-up call for us. Over 20 years ago, about 15 years, we at the Investors Forum, our very first seminar we held was Beyond Oil and Gas.
I remember that. And exactly. I would like you to tell me more about that. We're going to go on a short break now. And when we return, we'll delve deep into that, and more specifically what businesses can do to better align themselves, and especially when they really want to keep growing in the world, right? All right. Now, yes, we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and you can call you can also drop your messages on WhatsApp at 0809-030-6416. Drop your messages there. Do you think we can businesses afford to go green in the spirit of COP28? What must businesses do to be able to slide into being green and adopting clean energy and staying away from falling prey of any regulations that may come out from COP28? That's what we're talking about. This is Talking Figures, and my name is Choma Isiamafo. We'll be right back. And yes, we are back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. It's Talking Figures. Yes, when it comes down to money, it comes down to figures, and it's time to talk figures. And before we went on that break, we were talking about COP28 and what it means for your business. So if you're a business owner or you know a business owner, tell them to tune in now, because we're about to have conversations that could help them make better decisions this month and this year. Let's put it that way. Yes, I have joining me the president of River State Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, Mr. Ibifiri Bob Manuel, is joining me on telephone. And are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for staying in. Now, before we went on the break, you talked about the very first event that your forum organized about 15 years ago, talking about Beyond Oil. Tell us about it and how it helps as we talk about businesses going green when we think of COP28.
Yeah, the COP had always had a vision for a better world, better globe. And in line with the vision of the COP is for businesses to begin to automate, to do things differently and align with the global yardsticks and benchmarks that would be set. And as far back as 15 years ago, we came up with, we put together a seminar that was centered around beyond oil and gas, because we understand that businesses in Nigeria and indeed in the Niger Delta are the frontline offenders. We're going to have the most impact when this time comes. And now the time is rising upon us. The question is, how many businesses have been able to automate their activities, to automate or divest into areas that are more green and more environmental friendly areas? What came to mind immediately is a couple of days back, 2 days ago, I stumbled on something on one of the social platforms where the National House of Assembly, House of Reps rather, were debating the fact that the IOCs are not investing enough money in the oil and gas sector. That is what is responsible for the crimes and all of that. And I was asking myself, is it that we're in a different globe at the same time? If the House of Reps don't seem to see now the profit to understand that companies are now taxed to go green, then it means we have a fundamental problem in the country. And I think that is what is responsible for a lot of challenges that we're going to face going forward. For us as businesses, we've always advocated to our partners, to our members, to find ways to go green, to find ways to adapt, migrate from the fossil fuel centered economy or business activities to more greener ways of doing business, what is equally very profitable, and you could actually get to find a way to be into such. But for the National Assembly not to understand that, look, we can't afford to run on this route, we need to begin to think of things from the green point of it. That's why you find out the likes of Adib, the likes of Shell, the likes of Mobil, and just mention all of them. They've actually divested from their major investment they invest in the country and indeed in Africa. What they're looking at now are investments that are not going to go against their own local laws in their own countries, but at the same time invest in such a way that they would enhance their reputation. Just like you talked about the airlines that shared an information that was not exactly true and the backward aspect. But so businesses must quickly embark upon this automation and this migration from the way we do business to other ways. So I tell you, investments will flow into countries that are ready, into societies, states that are ready to promote such investments that are globally accepted. Such green funds are always they're everywhere, they're all around us. But we must be prepared and we must come up with very clear-cut blueprint on how to drive businesses in those spaces. And when we do that, you find out that naturally those foreign investments will now begin to come and take spaces in those areas that we've created. But not until we do that, you find out that most countries that are not ready to do that would always be lagging at the back as against investment inflows into their countries. So it's a win-win. Don't look at it from a negative point of it. It has lots of positives to it. It simply means that, look, there are fresh areas that venture capitalists, that there are fresh areas that new businesses could actually go and take a position, and within a short while they would be able to grow their businesses from where they are to where they should be.
Now, let's break it down and look at it more practically now when it comes to proactive measures that businesses must take. What are they?
Well, proactive plans that businesses will take. I think a simple, typical scenario, very practical scenario. There's a business that I have an interest in that made a switch from fossil investment into the oil exploration to investing heavily in green, sustainable energies. And what that company does, the company has a very ambitious plan for itself for 2024 to roll out as much as 100 green charging stations for electric vehicles in Nigeria. And they're going to, they've taken the first 3 pilot schemes to take place in Rivers, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Abuja, and Kano. And basically what they'll be doing, they're going to be rolling out green charging stations. Now you have dotted all across Nigeria fossil fuel filling stations today, but in a short while you will be seeing that migration where companies will be taking stakes in opening up charging stations for EVs, electric vehicles, because it is cheaper, it is more efficient, and at this point that we are, you have more incentives to invest in those spaces. So these are the kind of creative ways we think we could go about, businesses could go about and in Nigeria today. Because if you do the math had reached the point where I think it's more efficient and it's cheaper to own to run a solar in your house as against running a fossil fuel generator in your house. That's what it is. After your first initial outlay of investment in owning the appliance, within a short while, in the next 1, 2, 3, 4 years, you would have been able to nail out the amount of money you would have expended in setting up, or you have expended in putting up with those solar panels on your roof. So I'm not here to market those companies, but I'm telling you, these are very innovative ways because of the amount of funding that is going into this whole green drive. You find out that the cost of solar at different levels had been cracked down in such a way that it is now cost effective. So if you're carrying out your business, you need to begin, if you're planning your business, you need to begin to think about the innovative ways you could bring down the cost of running your business. And when the cost of running your business comes down, you eventually find out you begin to make profit. Your profit becomes more sustaining. So these are the areas that all of us should all begin to look at. So I think from the point of view of the different governments need to begin to look at areas that they could, policies they will come up with that would encourage such green funds. And those green funds are coming in from multilateral agencies, they're coming in from local agencies, and there are some people that just want to do things all right. There are some people that feel even back to the earth is more important. They wouldn't mind spending slightly more, but to give back to the earth and to see that the earth remains sustainable and remains in existence for as long as it is. So at that point, they can afford to pay slightly higher than what ordinarily they should pay off the shelf for a product that would not enhance the earth or the way we do things. So these are the areas that I think that we all need to begin to look at. For government, they need to begin to think out of the box. I was during the president's visit to Dubai. The president made a pledge that the federal government of Nigeria had just placed orders for electric buses, about 100 units. I think that's a drop in the ocean. But I think it's the realization that he had come to that, look, this thing is real and we need to begin to think of things to do. And for us overall as a people, if you imagine the amount of money that we're spending and the amount of effort and aspiration and belief we have in some projects of the government or some direction projects of the federal government, you begin to call to question the way they think. Because today we're still thinking about when the refineries are going to come on stream. When the globe has actually gone away from fossil fuel. We've been on the refinery story for the past 60 years. And we're still expecting that the refineries are going to come on stream. Well, in other countries, I was in China, I was in Japan a couple of weeks back. All the vehicles are ridden, they're all powered by electric. You know, so these are fundamental questions that we need to ask ourselves as a people on which direction we need to run on. You know, because the globe had actually taxes. The globe had moved. You know, the COP president today, as to speak, is no other person but it comes from the United Arab Emirates. So it shows you the importance that the globe has placed on the energy migration. So we need, as a people, as a country, as a state, we need to begin to look at how we want to live in the next 10, 15 years. Because if we don't begin to prepare for that, then we'll just be preparing to find ourselves in a very difficult place. Thank you.
Okay, now let's open the phone lines and get your thoughts. Yes, you've been listening to the president of Rivers State Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, Mr. Ibifiri Bob Manuel, and he's really been quite articulate in talking about the implications of COP28 for businesses, especially in our region. The phone lines will be open now, 0817-923-0002. You can also call 0817-923-0003. Yes, you call and you get to hear the screener. When you're screened, they'll patch you through the studio and then you join us and let's get your thoughts. Do you think we're ready for all of what Ms. Ibifri just explained? Do you think we can afford it? There are realities here. Economic realities. I know, since the removal of subsidy, we've seen businesses struggle. When I do market watch, every day we hear businesses shutting down, readjusting. Can we, in all of that, be able to make an adjustment like going green? What do you think? If you own a business, if you run a business right now in Rivers State, or even if it's not in Rivers State, I would like to know what it is you've done to be more eco-friendly, like they call it, using clean energy or being eco-friendly. I'll tell you, for me, in the newsroom, we no longer do paper. Does that work? Mr. Ibifri, I was going to ask you that. Should that be part of it? It's part of it, right? Where we know we're paperless. I'm talking to you in the studio right now. I do not have any paper before me. I think it should count for something, right? That's like a good step, right? Till we get to the point of clean energy. Anyways, I would like to hear your thoughts when it comes to our businesses. What is it that we must do to be able to adjust? What would it take for you to adjust your business to become green, to go green? What would it cost you? Is it something you're willing to do right now, or maybe next year? Or now that COP28 is going to come and it's going to they're going to promote lots of regulations, and Nigeria, as one of the members, will be required to comply, and that could affect your business. How are you going to navigate that when it comes? 0817-923-0007, 0817-923-0009. Those are numbers you can call, and the WhatsApp number to send your message, 0809-030-6416. That's the WhatsApp number, and I will need you to drop your messages there, and I think I'll just start from there today. I have one here from Kika. It says, good afternoon, ma. My name is Justice from Ada George. Please ask Mr. Chairman how we young entrepreneurs can reach out to him if we deem fit. Thanks. Okay, let's help this young entrepreneur, Mr. Ibifri. How can they reach out?
You should just go on the internet, look for Rivers Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, and it drops it and comment there. I'll reach out to him.
Okay, so go online, Justice, and search for River State Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, and the contact details are there, and you can catch up there. Okay, I have this one. I don't think you said your name, but you said, good afternoon. As much I understand the investment opportunities, I have my reservations about the practical application of these green technologies for everyday usage in Nigerian households and businesses. For a country with too many bad roads, especially in city centers, shaky public electricity generation, and poor harnessing of fossil fuels, whether for extraction, transportation, or refinement, it's hard to see the same leadership structure providing a workable structure or adequate motivation to develop renewable energy. That's what this message, he didn't say your name. I wish you did. He spoke a lot of English here. He said it's good to be optimistic, but the bottom line is how widespread the integration and application of this stuff can be done by the average citizen and resident. Savvy entrepreneurs can make money off this, but the most of the population who have been forced into survival mentality by bad economic policies and poor security arrangements will not really care about all this climate talk. Ms. Ibifri, what do you think?
Well, I used to think that way 15, 20 years ago, but I think I've moved on from that point.
But that's just you. You're one in. Sorry to cut you there, Ms. Ibifri.
Sorry, let me learn.
Okay.
The opportunities are there in this spaces, and it's a lot cost effective for us to run in these green spaces today. I'll give you a typical scenario with your vehicles that you're charging. The cost of the vehicles that you're charging are going to go up on a daily basis because for you to fuel your car, the cost of it will keep going up. Now, the past couple of months, they had a marginal increment. Today, we're buying around 600 and something. Today, the dollar in the current, the car market runs at around 1,150 naira. So it is expected that the next set of shipments of petroleum products that will come into the country will be selling around 700 and something naira. But just suppose that, so charging your vehicles charging your EVs, your electric vehicles, you will be paying just a fraction of that to charge your EVs. And so speak, in come March, when the stations start rolling out, you will not be paying more than 100 naira to charge for the same liter. That's the equivalent of it. So it's a lot cheaper. So for you to run on a fossil fuel car, then you need to ask yourself, is it worth it? If you don't have the funds to run on an EV, which is going to be costing about the same cost with even better gadgets than the fossil fuel cars that we're driving today, if you want to buy a new car and you have a choice, obviously most people will go for an EV than going for a fossil fuel driven car. So with time it will get down, but the whole idea is, look, government should take time and play in those spaces where the populace can't play. I mean, when you're talking about mass transportation, we should be running on EVs, electric vehicles. If you go to London, every other major city, the mass transit vehicles are all electric vehicles because they're cheaper to run. When you give the people the cheaper option to run from point A to point B to carry out their businesses, then they would express themselves in carrying out their businesses at a more affordable cost. And when you give them the opportunity to run at a more expensive cost, it becomes even harder for them to break even. So it's simple economics, very basic economics. So what we are trying to drive here in this country, we're trying to disrupt the system by bringing in more energy, more environmentally friendly energies to the people and to the government. So governments that are serious are already on bed with, we're discussing with such governments. So the ones that are not serious, it's fine by them. So the whole idea is the automation, the disruption, we will not wait for any of us. The process is on. So it's left to you to find a space and apply yourself in that space. So there are different areas that we all could apply ourselves in. Very much interesting areas, that we can apply ourselves in. So you find where you could fit in, and you fit in there, and you find a way to grow from that. So that's basically what it's all about. So the globe is not going to wait for Africa because Africa has so much of fossil fuel they will slow down on their target. No, the globe is not going to do that. That's why you have countries like Saudi Arabia that has the most oil resources, had actually started their divestment process several years ago. Aramco, as to speak today, Aramco is so diverse that they've even sold out major shares in Aramco out to the private sector because the government does not want itself to be caught up on that web when the die is casted and they're with a major stake and interest, financial interest in a company called Aramco that is quoted to be one of the biggest oil, in fact the biggest oil company in the world, and nobody wants to touch. So governments are already migrating, but I don't know why in the country, Nigeria, we've really not been able to smell the coffee. So why I say my mindset had changed from where it was to where it is now. Prior to this time, I felt it's our responsibility to force the government, encourage the government to do all of that. We've had several seminars. In cereals, we were having seminars, 4 seminars a year, and you can imagine from 15 years till date, we would have had several of several seminars trying to encourage the government to see things differently. But they seem not to see things differently. The mindset is still where it is. I just gave a scenario where the National Assembly, in fact, a representative of the National outlet, it's on news that the federal government is threatening IOCs that they were going to take the oil licenses that they've not invested in to give to other investors. Look, the truth about it is, even if the oil companies have the funds and they want to invest in those oil blocks or those oil investments, those licenses, the parent government would not even allow them to do that. Because the parent government is now part and parcel of this whole migration process that they think it's high time the investments should migrate to even more greener ways to doing the same thing or achieving the same thing. So it's a very interesting time in the history or in the trajectory of business development in the world. And I think the investors that would quickly adapt would benefit the most. That's the least I could say.
Now, the reality remains that a lot of people are yet to catch on. And it's not just in Nigeria, actually. We have the likes of Donald Trump, who also doubts all of this English when it comes to climate change. That is there. And a huge number of people, businesses specifically, are not really interested. How can we get them to be? Now, there's so much that's been done. There's so much that's been said. So much. So let's look at what's been said, what's been done. Is it enough? And how can we, get them to realize that it's actually a public health emergency, like they've said?
Sorry, you said what? I didn't get you.
Yes, how can we get those who are not interested? That they're actually in the majority. That's what I was trying to say earlier. They're in the majority. How can we get them to be interested?
Well, realities will down on them. I don't think you need to waste your energy trying to convince anybody that is not convinced about it. You could look at the math behind the EVs and the math behind the fossil fuel vehicles that Donald Trump is talking about. You could go Google it, look at the math. You judge for yourself. You buy a fossil fuel car, you're going to run the fossil fuel. I don't really think it's, you buy a fossil fuel car, you're going to run on the fossil fuel car, you're going to buy fossil fuel for the car for the rest of your life. Or if you buy an EV, your first investment of an EV is an outlay of an investment you've made that you are going to recoup off with down a couple of years, maybe 1, 2, 3 years, depending on your usage. So if you have an EV, and the EV comes with a charging unit that you charge in your own house. So if you're charging it in your house, you don't need to come to my EV charging station to get to charge it, right? The only difference in you coming to my EV charging station, it means you can charge within 15, 30 minutes, you get your car fully charged. But if you're going to charge it in your house, you charge it for 5, 6, 7, 8, 7 hours. You get it charged. So most Nigerians sleep in their houses with lights at least for 4 or 5 hours. That's enough for you to run that car for 1 week. So for no extra cost. So it doesn't make sense. It's a no-brainer discussion comparing them. But for me, I think it has to do with the way we want to run our lives and want to run our businesses. For a government, if the government wants to keep investing on fossil fuel, do you know how much is invested on what do you call the refineries? Of recent, the figures that came out for the turnaround maintenance of the refinery is 0.5 billion. It's crazy. If you use that same amount of money and you put in a green investment that would provide mass transit for the people, I think half of that would solve the mass transit issue in the whole country. We'll have other funds to do other things. My take here is, look, the government needs to find a way to begin to divest its over-dependence on fossil-related investments in the country. And the best way to do it is to begin to find a way to divest its personal interest, just like what the Saudi government had done with Aramco. The Nigerian government needs to find a way to do the same thing with the NNPC. Regardless of whatever they do, they wake up today the NNPC is NNPCL. I don't know what the L changes in the business. It's the same NNPC, right? So we need to begin to wake up and do things now, because we do things the way we should do them. Because on that process, the better it is for us as a people. But for us as businesses, we've decided to take our business prospects and our business future in our hands. So we must begin to do things differently in our businesses. We must begin to embrace doing things green. I'm giving you a scenario of a supermarket that sells only green products in that supermarket. Now, those products are going to be slightly more expensive, but a civilized and a more enlightened, customer would rather wish to go and spend that extra buck to buy things that are more environmentally friendly and more eco-friendly and more sustainable than going to spend his money in a supermarket that just sells all the junk that really has no impact on the planet. So the way you manufacture your goods today is now even called into question. In civilized society, the way you manufacture your goods would eventually enhance the acceptability level of those products you manufacture from your factory. Now, customers are more interested in how you go about doing things than just the kind of things you churn out of your factory.
True.
So there are different things that we really need to begin to look at if we need to move forward. You find a situation whereby the process you embark on, it's saying that hold on some rights of some of your workers trickles down to everything. So that's what it is.
Okay, this is interesting. I have a message here on WhatsApp from Eric Chooks. He says, "Good afternoon, Choma. It will be necessary to educate the populace on the benefits of going green. Many Nigerians feel bad when they are told to do the right thing. Nigeria seems to be a late frontier for green technology. I say this because a country like the United States, where I graduated in environmental science engineering in 1980, was heavily embracing green technology in the 90s. Okay, I was going to ask him a final question there, but I think I've lost my I've lost the connection there. But let's just continue with this message on WhatsApp. It says it's still difficult to convince a Nigerian not to run a generator all night and to embrace solar energy system. It's even difficult to tell people here that noise pollution is not healthy for us. The churches will proclaim that the person is satanic and possessed. I moved to Port Harcourt 3 years ago and I have reduced the excessive burn of refuse and late night generator in my estate." That's Eric Chooks. Thank you for your message. And it's been a very interesting conversation here. I would have loved to really ask my guest, that's the president of River State Entrepreneurs and Investors Forum, Mr. Bifiri Bob Manuel. I would have loved to have him paint a picture for us as we wrap up on the show today. When it comes to businesses and as COP28 unfolds, what role that the River State businesses play in the global green movement. I was going to ask him that, but I guess we'll have to do that some other time. But yes, we've done a good wrap here, and I want to thank him for breaking it all down. He talked about the role businesses must play. He talked about even government's role, and time for us to wake up is now, he insists, and I agree with him. And so if you're a business, as the year wraps up and you sit with your team to talk about next year, remember that it's become more important than ever for you to go green, and go green now, go green today, or go green from next year. But it's become more important than ever, because as COP28 ends, there are going to be regulations, and Nigeria is going to be mandated to enforce those regulations. Do not be on the other side of the law. And that's it on Talking Figures today. Yes, I am really excited that we're able to get to wrap this and look deep into it. I have a call coming in. Can I take this call? Okay, let's see what this caller has to say. I lost them. That would have been the first and the last caller. I don't know if I had network issues today, but I would have loved to hear from you. Anyways, this conversation is going to be on Facebook. You can go look it up and still drop your comments there, and conversations can continue on social media. My name is Choma Ezenwafo, and I'm on I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn at Chioma Ezenwafo. We can catch up there if you want to have more conversations with me. And thank you for doing this. Yes, this is Talking Figures. We do this every Wednesday by 2 p.m. We talk about issues around the business world and the economy. Join me again next week, and it's going to be an interesting one, I promise you. Thank you so much, and do have a nice one. Rivers Today is up next, and after that, we have Kalada for Hard Facts. Stay tuned.